All right.
Okay. Situation, situación. And a situation is a time and a place. I asked the teacher a question he couldn't answer. It was a difficult situation. I stood in the road as the cars passed on both sides. It was a dangerous situation. If you were in the road with cars passing on both sides, how would you describe the situation? If you were in a road with cars passing on both sides, how would you describe the situation? Laura, I'd describe
I
it
describe I describe it as a dangerous
as a
situation.
not dangerous. I'd describe it as a dangerous.
I describe it as a dangerous situation.
If the teacher couldn't answer your question, how would you describe the situation? If the teacher couldn't answer your question, how would you describe the situation? Laura, I'd
I
describe it
describe the situation as a difficult situation.
as a situation. What do you do in funny situations? What do you do in funny situations? Laura, I
I
laugh.
laugh in funny situations.
Suppose, suponer, first, said. I suppose means the same as I think probably. If I didn't have breakfast, I suppose I would be hungry. Mean means the same as if I didn't have breakfast, I think I probably would be hungry. If you didn't have your breakfast, how do you suppose you would feel? If you didn't have your breakfast, how do you suppose you would feel? Laura,
If I didn't have my breakfast,
I suppose
I suppose
feel,
I would feel hungry.
how do you suppose you would feel if you didn't drink any water for a day? How do you suppose you would feel if you didn't drink any water for a day? Laura, I suppose
I suppose I'd feel thirsty if I
I'm
didn't drink.
not thirsty, it's thirsty. I
I
suppose
suppose I'd feel
thirsty
thirsty
if I didn't.
if I didn't drink any water for a day.
Do you think it'll probably rain next year? Do you think it'll probably rain next year, Laura?
Yes,
Yes.
I suppose it will
Probably.
rain next year.
When we start a sentence with supposing, we want somebody to imagine a situation. When we imagine something, we normally use a conditional construction, and this means that we should use the past tense. For example, supposing you were the king or queen of this country, what would you do? Supposing you were the king or queen of your country, what would you do? Supposing you were the king or queen of your country, what would you do, Laura?
Supposing I were the queen of my country,
Queen of my country, I
I'd um I'd help me
change
out here when I get stuck. Uh,
change the law,
change the law to have more holidays.
have more holidays. Supposing today were your birthday, what would you do this evening? Supposing today were your birthday, what would you do this evening? Laura, supposing
Supposing today were my birthday, I would be
not
talking.
birthday, not birthday, it's birthday.
Supposing today were my birthday, I would be talking on the phone.
Talking on the phone. Hotter and hotter, más y más caliente, more and more, más y más. We could use the comparative to describe a changing situation. We say cheaper and cheaper when something was cheap and its price continues to go down. Example, smartphones are getting cheaper and cheaper. We can use any adjective like this. For example, every day the weather is getting hotter and hotter. For adjectives with three syllables, we use more and more. For example, Houses are getting more and more expensive to buy. Do children become shorter and shorter as they become older? Do children become shorter and shorter as they become older? Laura? No,
No,
children don't.
children's don't become shorter.
Not children's children. No,
Children don't become
don't.
shorter
Shorter and
and
shorter.
shorter as they become older.
Mm, as they
They
become.
they become taller and taller.
Do parties become quieter and quieter as more people arrive? Do parties become quieter and quieter as more people arrive? Laura, no,
No,
you
parties
don't.
don't
It's
become
quiet,
quieter,
not quieter, quieter.
quieter and
Quieter and quieter.
quieter when more
People
people arrive, they become noisier and noisier.
noisy. We can use the same structure with nouns instead of adjectives using more and more. For example, I keep buying more and more books. There are more and more cars in the city centre these days. The opposite of more and more is fewer and fewer for things we can count and less for things we can't. Are there fewer and fewer people in the world each year? Are there fewer and fewer people in the world each year? Laura, no, there
No, there aren't
fewer,
fewer and
fewer,
few
fewer,
fewer
fewer
and fewer people in the world
in the
these
world
days.
these days.
There are more and more.
There are more and more. Do you find you have more and more free time these days? Do you find you have more and more free time these days? Laura, no,
No, I don't find I have more and more
more and
uh,
more
free
free
time
time,
these days. I have less and less time.
less and less time. Ready, preparado, listo. I wash and dress when I get ready for work in the morning. I studied before the lesson and I'm ready for your questions. How long does it take you to get ready for work? How long does it take you to get ready for work? Laura, it takes
It
me.
it takes me about half an hour to get
Hour.
ready for work.
Are you ready for my questions? Are you ready for my questions? Laura,
Yes.
of
Yes,
course.
of course. I'm ready for your questions.
After lunch, are you usually ready for a siesta? After lunch, are you usually ready for a siesta? Yes or no, Laura?
Yes, after
Yes.
lunch,
For lunch,
I'm
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 usually,
usually ready for a siesta.
usually, not usually, I'm
Usually ready for a siesta.
marriage, matrimonio. The noun of the verb to marry is marriage. How long do marriages last on average these days? How long do marriages last on average these days, Laura? I think
I think marriages
last
last 10 years on average these
years
days.
these days. Whereabouts, donde. Whereabouts means the same as where, but it's less specific. For example, where do you live? I live on Sesame Street. Whereabouts do you live? I live in the center of town. Whereabouts do you live? Whereabouts do you live? Laura, I
I
live.
live in Recoleta neighborhood.
Correct. That's it. Describe, describir, description, descripción, just, justo. The noun of the verb describe is description. For example, I'll describe my friend. He's tall, he has black hair, he works in the center of town. For example, it's a very simple description. Describe Mr. Brown. Describe Mr. Brown. Laura. He's
Um,
tall.
he's tall. He has brown hair.
Not
He's
hair. It's brown hair.
brown
Brown hair.
hair. He's
He's wearing
wearing a suit and
and
glasses.
describe your house or flat. Describe your house or flat. Laura.
I live
You
I live in a flat, in
in a
an
flat.
apartment. It's
In a
very
flat.
small and it's in a very busy area, very noisy area, and I live
Yeah.
with my dog.
And I live with my dog. Should I repeat your answer? Because when I don't know what the answer is
No, no,
going to
no,
be.
it's okay. You just have to check that I don't make any mistakes in the middle, or for example, and I lives with my dog. If I said I lives with my dog, what would you say?
It's not lives, it's I live with my
There
dog.
you go. There you go. So that's basically what you have to do. When the student is making up the answer, just follow the student and make sure he's not making any, especially grammar mistakes is what they mostly make when they have to come up with their own sentence. Yes, please go ahead.
Give me a very simple description of your room. Give me a very simple description of your room. Laura, my room
My
is
room is a bedroom, and I
bedroom
have two
and I have
nightstands
two nightstands
and is light,
and a light. It's light.
is
Yeah,
light,
not is light, it's light.
and it's light.
Correct. Correcto. Incorrect. Incorrecto. The sun moves around the earth is correct. The sun moves around the earth is incorrect. The past participle of right is written is correct. The sun moves around the earth. Is that correct? The sun moves around the earth. Is that correct, Laura?
No, it isn't
No,
correct. In,
not correct. Just correct.
it's no, it isn't correct. It's
Incorrect.
incorrect.
Not incorrect. Incorrect.
Incorrect. The
Incorrect.
earth moves round the sun.
Round the sun. Which is the correct past participle of write? Written or righted? Which is the correct past participle of write? Written or righted? Laura, the
The
correct
correct past participle of
right
write is
is,
wrote,
is not wrote, is written.
is written.
Written. As soon as, tan pronto como, over, sobre. As soon as means the moment when something happens. For example, as soon as the sun shines, I'll go for a walk. This means the same as the moment when the sun shines, I'll go for a walk. What did you do as soon as you got up this morning? What did you do as soon as you got up this morning, Laura? I
I
washed
washed
and
and
dressed.
dressed as
Not
soon as
you don't need to roll the eyes. Dressed
dressed
as
and
soon
as
as.
soon as I got up this morning.
What will you do as soon as you get home after work? What will you do as soon as you get home after work? Laura, I'll
I'll take off my shoes and throw my keys on the table as soon as I get home from work.
very good. If you have a dictation to do for next lesson, do you prefer to wait or do it as soon as possible? If you have a dictation to do for next lesson, do you prefer to wait or do it as soon as possible? Laura,
If I have a dictation to do,
to do,
uh,
I,
I
uh,
I prefer, I can't remember. Can we do it again? If
if you have a
I have a,
dictation to do the next lesson, do you prefer to wait or to do it as soon as possible? Laura, if
if
I
I
have
have a dictation to do for next lesson, I prefer to do it as soon possible.
to do it as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Very good job, Andrew. So we're working on the speed. You're doing great. Okay. You're getting a little bit more speed in there. And the CBI, you're doing it wonderfully. Okay. So we're going to move on to Zoom 2. And now we're going to add something else to help you, another technique to help you a little bit with getting the ideas across. Okay. So I'll see
Okay.
you in Zoom 2 in just a moment.